My role is to work closely with residential faculty and subject matter experts to develop online courses that meet district competencies and provide efficient, engaging instruction that can be accurately assessed. I use Microsoft Outlook's calendar function and a customized Microsoft Excel spreadsheet to keep an accurate short-term and long-term view of my workload. I prioritize daily tasks and communicate with all team members regarding project updates and changes. I try to help attract subject matter experts and developers that not only really know their content, but also have some background in education. Also, I try to maximize the talents of our in-house media team to create elements for my courses which avoids our having to outsource projects, which can be very expensive. We also have a department goal to create media which can be efficiently repurposed across disciplines. I work closely with our library using a process that allows me to provide copyright permission requests to her team to pursue. I openly question developers regarding the use of materials that I don't recognize as part of the textbook materials and resources. Finally, I utilize our media team to find or create media that is copyright free.
My job is really to manage the team of instructional designers, other e-learning professionals, including editors, contracting subject matter experts, others who would be involved in the project. Working with graphics, graphic designers, it's a large group of people that we work with when we do this. So what I do is I lead the team. I set standards. I try to make sure that those standards are adhered to. Along with the team, I lead the team in creating templates and creating a process that will make sense for everybody involved so we can get all the projects done in a timely manner. Also, when time comes, I move resources. I move people around to where we need them most so we can get all of our projects done.
My job as part of the e-learning design team is actually to do a lot of the front-end work when Rio's trying to discover what sort of programs and course offerings we want to offer to the community. I work a lot with community workforce development to decide what the need is out in the community. Once I've done that and we've decided at Rio that we want to move forward with a program, I find content experts in those fields. And then I bring those content experts in and we sit down and we meet with the instructional designers. And at that point, they start talking about how that course is going to look and how it's going to move forward.
My primary role in the e-learning design team is to be the content expert of the CIS program and courses. I primarily work with the instructional designer and a course developer all throughout the process. They work in the textbook that I select by developing lessons and assignments. I assist throughout the project by meeting with the developer and meeting with the instructional designer and reviewing number of lessons, how the lessons and assignments will be set up and how the course will be laid out. And then ultimately at the end, I review the course against the official course competencies and make sure that we have all the pieces that are necessary in the course before we put it in an online format, which is what another team takes care of.
And my role on the instructional design team, I have a couple different things that I do. The first thing is, obviously, as librarians do, I serve as a resource. So if people need good sources for content to put in their lessons, what kind of databases we have in the library, that kind of thing. Ideally, I'm often involved in that right at the beginning. And then the second thing that I do, and I will talk more about this in a later lesson, is the copyright clearance. So that if there are third-party items in the courses, those will come to me and I will do whatever is needed to be sure we're compliant with copyright.
I would say my role in the e-learning process in the early days was really about helping with the flow between all the departments and how that process worked. In recent days, however, I'm working more with the faculty chairs and the instructional designers and administration of the college to make sure that the goals that we're setting for the Rio 2012 we're actually working to implement in our department.
I supervise the course production department, which consists of 4 teams that create all the media, the assessments, and the content for the online courses. And basically our role is that we produce all the documents for the web that the instructional design team has worked with the content experts to develop. And then we not only develop the content and get it online, but then we work to make sure that all the student access works and that the content is maintained.
We work with the instructional designers, and they put the course materials together through Word documents. And with the Word documents, we collect those and we convert all the Word docs into HTML. And we also gather other materials such as media, including images, Flash objects, whatever's going to be incorporated into the content. We take all that. It's like having a puzzle. We gather all the pieces to the puzzle and we put them all into the content. So we make it so that the course will be ready for RioLearn. And we also add the assessment IDs, and that's pretty much about it. We do other little tweaks here and there, but for the most part, it's just collecting all the data and putting it together and putting it into the course.
My role in the instructional design process is to go through the course once it comes from the instructional designers and the editors, go through it, make sure all the assessments have their parts, and then I put together the grade book for the students, and then my team puts the assessments into the course, and then we hand it off to the content team for them to do the content part of the course.
My role in an e-learning design team is to work with instructional designers, to work with faculty, to work with different production teams, and to work with course developers in finding the best way to use media in courses. So we sit and we meet and we talk about the best way to use media. Once we figure out the best way to use the media, then I actually proceed in creating the multimedia. Sometimes it's video, sometimes it's photography, sometimes it's illustration, sometimes it's animation. There's a bunch of different ways that you can approach any kind of media design project. And so we figure out the best way to do it, and then we move forward with that. And once we move forward with it, I help to oversee some of the things that are more production-based, a lot of the drag and drops, a lot of those types of things that there's a large volume of. We have a media production team that handles those types of things, and I kind of help to work with them to create things that are reusable, to create things based on XML and some more of the reusable type objects. So I work with them to create those things so that they're easy to mass produce. And then some of the larger projects, things like virtual science labs, things like that, I'll usually work with the developer. I'll usually work with an instructional designer. We'll actually create that lab from scratch, and we'll try to find pieces of it that we can reuse later, or we'll try to find pieces of things that we've created before that we can reuse. A lot of our XML procedures that we've used to parse the XML, things like that, we'll reuse a lot of those types of pieces of code, and we'll come up with something in the end that hopefully didn't take too long to make, that is high quality for the students, and that we're proud to have. So the end result, again, is that we have something that teaches, and that is the most important thing.
My role in an e-learning design team is that of an instructional designer. As you're learning in your course, the instructional designer is not the only person on a team, and you can't possibly do everything on your own. I think we've touched on this in several of the courses. As an e-learning designer, especially at Rio Salado College, I'm a part of a large team that includes subject matter expert, the faculty chair, the person in charge of the discipline that is producing the course, our Flash guru programmer who makes all of the multimedia and everything so we can have some really cool stuff in our courses. The web programmers who put the course content up. We've got people who work on the assessment, and we've got an editor, we've got a reviewer, we've got all kinds of people. So what do? I help act as both the project manager and the e-learning designer. So I kind of help to oversee the entire project, manage all of those people and all of their roles, and make sure that person A meets their deadlines so persons B, C, D, and E aren't left waiting. If every single person was just one day late, you're going to end up being 3 weeks late with your project. So you really have to make sure that everybody meets their deadlines. I also meet with the faculty chair and the subject matter expert right at the beginning and talk about what the goals of the course are going to be. What are the course competencies? Now let's go through and divide those into lessons. This should sound familiar from ELN 101. We do a task and topic analysis, and then we go through and write some lesson objectives, and we do the instructional sequence. And I work really closely with them on that. Once we have that sequence down, depending on the chair, most chairs like to start with the assessments. So they write the assessments next and then move on to the course content, but some prefer to flip it and do the course content first. Those I don't do. I consult and I answer questions when I need them, but they have a subject matter expert, a developer, who then goes through and writes each of the lesson, writes the assessments, writes out what they want for their practice activities and things like that. At the midpoint and at the end and several times in between, we then meet, go over what they've done, make sure that the content they're creating aligns with those lesson objectives and goals that we've already decided upon. And then I bring it all together and send it off to our reviewer, who makes sure that all the pieces are there.
My role in e-learning team is as a graphic designer to provide graphics and any visual materials for the course. For example, if I am getting the task to provide graphics, I will look for graphic from our sources on internet, on AP library images, or Jupyter images and other sources that copyrighted, and make a right choice for the developer. Then we would manipulate the images if we need to, and sometimes we have to composite the image if it's not available in the library. Same with some interactive task. To create interactive activity, we will develop we have a lot of templates of user-friendly interface for the student to achieve the best results and to keep them engaged in the activity. So we use Flash program that. And also we use any kind of technology to help our developers in bring the best what we can to the course.